The assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk sent shockwaves across the political spectrum and the wider public. In the immediate aftermath, authorities quickly identified and arrested Tyler James Robinson, a promising young student from Utah who was accused of carrying out the fatal attack. Within just 33 hours of Kirk's death, the FBI declared Robinson the primary suspect, announcing his arrest with what appeared to be decisive evidence. For many, the case seemed open and shut. A politically motivated young man had committed an unthinkable crime against a high-profile conservative figure. But as the details began to unfold, the story became far less straightforward. Robinson was not the type of individual many would expect to see at the center of such a shocking event. A scholarship recipient, a strong student, and someone often described as polite and responsible, Robinson's image didn't align with the profile of a violent extremist. This glaring contradiction planted the first seeds of doubt in the public mind. Fueling the uncertainty, the FBI's narrative seemed to rely heavily on fragments of evidence rather than a complete story. A blurry rooftop video, said to show Robinson fleeing the scene, became central to their case. Yet critics, including conservative commentator Candace Owens, quickly pointed out inconsistencies. Robinson's family confirmed that he suffered from partial paralysis in his right leg, making the speed and movement in the video difficult, if not impossible, to reconcile with his condition. Almost immediately, speculation began to spread. Was Robinson truly responsible, or was he being used as a scapegoat? Social media erupted with competing narratives. Supporters of the official account viewed the arrest as justice served, while skeptics insisted the pieces didn't fit. At the same time, Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, took to the public stage with a tone of forgiveness rather than anger, declaring she forgave the young man accused of killing her husband. While many praised her grace, others questioned why she seemed so uninterested in pursuing deeper answers about the case. The initial phase of the investigation set the stage for what would soon become one of the most controversial and debated incidents in recent American political history. As the FBI pressed forward with its narrative against Tyler Robinson, one of the loudest voices to push back was conservative commentator Candace Owens. Known for her fierce criticism of mainstream narratives, Owens did not hesitate to accuse federal authorities of mishandling and even manipulating key evidence in the case. Her first major intervention came when the FBI released a short, grainy video clip, allegedly showing Robinson limping across a rooftop after Charlie Kirk's murder. Investigators argued the limp was caused by Robinson concealing a firearm beneath his clothing. Owens, however, pointed to a different explanation: Robinson's long-documented medical condition. He had partial paralysis in his right leg, meaning the stride in the video could not realistically have been his. "If you know the young man's medical records, you know this is impossible," she said in a live stream. "The video doesn't prove his guilt, it undermines the entire case." Owens didn't stop there. She began questioning why the FBI only released carefully edited snippets of footage, rather than full surveillance records. If this was truly an open and shut case, she argued, why not show the entire video? Her suspicions deepened when inconsistencies emerged between public reports and internal documents. Some accounts suggested Robinson's own family had turned him in, while others implied he had harmed himself after being arrested, claims Owens dismissed as fabricated. Her critiques sparked massive debate online. Supporters applauded her for daring to confront federal authorities, framing her as a truth seeker who refused to let the government close the case prematurely. Critics, however, accused her of fueling conspiracy theories and destabilizing public trust at a time of national mourning. The FBI, for its part, remained largely silent, only stating that its investigation was ongoing. But Owens's persistent questions gained traction, especially after independent observers began analyzing the video themselves. Frame-by-frame reviews suggested the figure in the clip might not match Robinson's height or build. By the time Owens declared that the FBI was lying about everything except that the gun was Tyler's, Her words had already gone viral. Millions shared her claims, and suddenly, the official version of events was no longer the dominant one. The debate surrounding Tyler Robinson's case exploded into mainstream culture when Joe Rogan addressed it on his hugely popular podcast. While the FBI and mainstream media maintained a relatively unified narrative, Rogan gave airtime to growing doubts about whether Robinson had acted alone or at all. During one episode, Rogan played back the Rooftop video frame by frame for his audience. Like Owens, he pointed out the apparent mismatch between the figure's movements and Robinson's known medical condition. But Rogan took the conversation further by entertaining a theory that captivated millions: the involvement of a mystery woman. This theory stemmed from eyewitness reports, claiming a woman had been seen near the crime scene moments before Kirk was shot. Some even suggested she may have been the true shooter, while Robinson was framed as a patsy. If you look at the timing, if you listen to the witnesses, it doesn't add up that Tyler was the guy pulling the trigger, Rogan said. His comments spread rapidly across social media, fueling speculation that the FBI had deliberately ignored or suppressed leads that didn't fit their narrative. Rogan's influence gave the theory a sense of mainstream legitimacy. Unlike Owens, whose critics often dismissed her as overtly partisan, Rogan's platform reached a broader, more ideologically diverse audience. His willingness to question the FBI resonated not only with conservatives, but also with libertarians, skeptics of government power, and those wary of media spin. The mystery woman narrative soon took on a life of its own. Online forums dissected blurry images from bystanders' phones, comparing clothing, body shapes, and possible identities. Hashtags like #Huiji and #MysteryShooter trended for days, pushing the FBI into an increasingly defensive position. Still, officials refused to publicly comment on whether a woman was ever considered a suspect. That silence only fueled further distrust. To many, it appeared that critical information was being withheld from the public, strengthening the belief that Robinson had been wrongly accused. By the time Rogan's podcast episode ended, the case had shifted from a straightforward tragedy to a full-blown cultural firestorm. For millions of Americans, the question was no longer just who killed Charlie Kirk, but whether the truth was being deliberately concealed. As the conspiracy theories swirled, the official case against Tyler Robinson marched on in the courtroom. Despite the doubts raised by commentators, the FBI and prosecution team presented a narrative that painted Robinson as a politically motivated assassin who had deliberately targeted Charlie Kirk. Yet what captured just as much attention as the trial itself was the attitude of Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow. At vigils and press conferences, she spoke less about punishment and more about forgiveness. "I forgive the young man who took my husband's life," she said softly, sparking both admiration and confusion. To many, her grace reflected deep personal faith and moral conviction. But to others, her unwillingness to demand accountability seemed almost too calm, feeding suspicions that the true story behind her husband's death was being kept hidden. The trial itself became a media spectacle. Prosecutors leaned heavily on the blurry Rooftop video, eyewitness statements, and above all, the discovery of the gun that was allegedly registered to Robinson. They argued that his motive was rooted in political radicalization, though evidence of such radicalization was thin. Meanwhile, the defense attempted to highlight Robinson's character, his medical condition, and the inconsistencies in the government's narrative. But their efforts seemed to fall flat in the face of overwhelming public pressure for justice. When the verdict finally came, the courtroom was silent as Judge Tony Graff read the decision. Tyler James Robinson was sentenced to death. He cited the deliberate, politically motivated nature of the crime, stressing that society could not tolerate such acts of violence against public figures. Outside, reactions were split. Supporters of Charlie Kirk hailed the sentence as justice served. Critics, however, saw it as the tragic culmination of a rushed and flawed investigation. Candace Owens called it a state-sanctioned cover-up, while others echoed Rogan's claim that the real killer might still be free. For Robinson, the death sentence marked the end of a shocking and bitter journey, from promising student to convicted assassin. But for the public, the verdict didn't close the case. If anything, it deepened the sense that the truth about Charlie Kirk's murder might never fully come to light. With Tyler Robinson sentenced to death and the courtroom drama concluded, the Charlie Kirk case did not fade from public attention. Instead, it became a lens through which the American public began questioning trust, transparency, and the role of media in shaping narratives. Despite an official verdict, doubts persist, amplified by Candace Owens's relentless scrutiny and Joe Rogan's public commentary. Owens's insistence on reviewing every piece of evidence, from video footage to eyewitness accounts, highlighted the potential gaps in the FBI investigation. Her claims that portions of the investigation may have been deliberately withheld or misrepresented fed a growing skepticism toward government agencies. Many began to ask, had Robinson truly acted alone, or had he been the face of a more complex plot? Could a mystery woman or other unseen players have influenced the sequence of events? These unanswered questions lingered in the public consciousness. Meanwhile, Erica Kirk's stance complicated the narrative. Her public forgiveness of Robinson juxtaposed sharply with the severity of the sentence, raising questions about motive, grief, and the power dynamics in the aftermath of tragedy. Observers speculated on her rapid return to influence at Turning Point USA, wondering how personal loss, public perception, and organizational politics intersected in a story that seemed larger than any single individual. The role of media and public platforms in shaping this perception cannot be understated. Social media, podcasts, and independent forums became battlegrounds where competing narratives clashed. Supporters of Owens and Rogan argued that they were uncovering truths mainstream media ignored. Critics warned of dangerous speculation that blurred the line between verified fact and conjecture. The case became emblematic of a larger cultural tension. In a world saturated with information, determining what is real and who can be trusted remains a challenge. Ultimately, the Charlie Kirk murder case illustrates the fragility of public trust and the complexities of justice in the modern era. While Robinson's sentence offers closure to some, the debate over motives, evidence, and hidden truths persists. Candace Owens, Joe Rogan, and Erica Kirk, each in their own way, have shaped the story's evolution, ensuring that the incident will continue to spark discussion, speculation, and controversy for years to come.